Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Data here with a special guest star, our good friend Slim Shady, here to break down the NHL postseason that has been. The 2024 postseason has come and gone, and we'll be reviewing it, going through all of Slim's biggest chokers, but of course, going through the Stanley Cup final that was one of the most exciting Stanley Cup finals we've seen in recent years, with Florida going up 3 games, Edmonton marching right back and winning 3 of their own, goes to Game 7, decided by a goal. It was an exciting time. Slim has a lot to say, and so do I. So thanks for joining us here tonight, everybody. We're gonna be doing this tonight since yesterday was the culmination of the postseason. We're gonna go ahead and finish off that by doing a live stream tonight. And then tomorrow on Wednesday, we'll have our usual Tuesday stream of Montreal Expos and MLB The Show 24. So that'll be tomorrow on Wednesday. It might be an afternoon stream, actually, but we'll have Expos tomorrow and Starfleet on Thursday with the recap of the postseason, breaking it all down, the Cup final, going through all of Slim's biggest chokers. And yes, I do believe that Slim can see the chat. Landon.
I can see the chat.
There you go. Perfect. So I'm glad that you could get in the studio here with me today. Slim, thank you for joining us. Before you go off and start your rants, just as always, thanks for taking the time, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love doing these podcasts with you. No, last time it wasn't ideal, but I mean, I'm looking forward to doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that we're in the studio together instead of having to work with the audio that we were working with last time.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get trolled a ton, even though my Panthers, my Panthers had that. No, my Panthers. You picked the Canucks to win.
Okay? That's a good Discord. That's a good Discord gag. Well, actually, speaking of who we picked to win, here's the bracket challenge. This is what we had after the by the end of the postseason here. So I was 8 for 8 in terms of choosing the winners of the series in round number 1. After that, I fell apart a little bit. Obviously, I only had one of the final 4 teams, so I did not win the bracket challenge here. I did have, of all the 4 teams to have, at least I had the Stanley Cup winning team in the final 4.
Can I just say something real quick?
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the one who won the bracket that won. And that would be 2 scoops. I'm not sure. I think that might be gold. Could it be gold in Discord servers? Whoever won the bracket challenge, please let me know that it was you. We'll make sure you get your appropriate reward, whether it be entries into created player raffle or renaming an MLB player, something like that, just for your efforts here. But I don't really understand the system. Like, this bracket was...
The biggest losers were the Jets.
The biggest losers were the Jets here.
It's not because the teams that they lost in the next round. It's not even just that. It's the Jets literally, they just self-destructed. I've never that series was a wash. That series was honestly probably the most disappointing.
This was the only one that this bracket had wrong. The Hurricanes over the Rangers. The rest of the bracket was perfect. That's crazy. So big shout out to 2 scoops. 93% correct on this bracket. Big shout out to 2 scoops. But unfortunately, not able to recapture my first round magic in the rest of the rounds in the postseason, as I'll finish 12th. I'll take it.
Oh, I'm just happy that the Panthers won. All right. So where should we start off with? Should we start off with the whole?
I was going to walk through the round that was first. You have a lot of. You were telling me that you have a lot of chokers in general that we're going to go through the entire postseason, but we'll start with just the Stanley Cup final.
Absolutely.
Well, then we'll go back through some of the first, second, or third round chokers that you want to highlight. So in round number 1, obviously, it was all Sergei Bobrovsky at the beginning. Panthers shut out the Oilers 3-0 and then win 4-1 at home, outscoring Edmonton 7-1 over those first 2 games. Bobrovsky, otherworldly, Conn Smythe favorite. He was going crazy. 4-3 win in Game 3, a much tighter one. The Oilers made it a good game, and you saw the first semblance of, I don't know if I would say the first semblance, but before then, it was tough to get much from, yes, this is live, Dabrowski. It was hard to get much from the Oilers. And, they had their shots on net. It was Bobrovsky really stonewalling them. It's not that they weren't showing an effort. It's that they weren't getting through with that effort. And in this game where they lost 4-3, it was the first time you saw them actually getting through. Not to say the effort wasn't there, just that the first time they were getting through with the effort. Game 5, they show up in a big way, huge, 8-1, chasing Bobrovsky from the net. 8-1 win right there for the Oilers to get them back in the series. Then 5-3 and 5-1. So it wasn't just them finding a way to break through Bobrovsky. It was also Stuart Skinner settling in. After allowing 3, 4, and 4, he then allows 1, 3, 1, and 2 in the last
McDavid
game.
fans will never give him credit, though.
Right, and you got to give respect to not only Skinner's performance, but throughout the postseason, games 1-3 and games 4-7, he was literally two different goaltenders when it came to his numbers. So he came in clutch when he needed to, and in the end, the Panthers winning 2-1. Yes, it was a bit of a weak goal in the Sam Reinhart snipe, but
that was Kulak being a
sure, yeah, that's why you can't put it on Stuart Skinner.
Kulak
He gave the Oilers the most
like,
incredible chance to do it.
Kulak literally like screened Skinner at the last. This is the thing I don't understand with Oilers fans. They like to you always point to the guy who is the youngest on the team for the most part. You point out Skinner, and Skinner is like in his second season, he was never ever supposed to be the guy in this scenario. It was supposed to be Campbell. What Skinner has done for the Oilers has been phenomenal, and he'll never get any respect, I feel, from a lot of these fans that are not even Oilers fans, they're McDavid fans, and that's what makes me mad, because I don't even like the Oilers, but I can appreciate Skinner and what he did for the team.
Sure. I hear what you're saying. So from those game totals, if you go and look at, speaking of the goalies, might as well go into the goalie stats right now. So you can't isolate just Bobrovsky and Skinner, but if we look at these two guys, Bobrovsky over the course of the entire postseason obviously did more than Skinner. As if you just look at the Stanley Cup final, I think even though Bobrovsky had his crazy game 1 and 2, I think it does even out. But Bobrovsky over the entire postseason, 7 goal saves above expected to Stuart Skinner's 1.9. And when you take does it just have normal save percentage? Not even. It's always the different types of save percentages. But if we go to stats and just jump into goalies quickly, and look at the league leaders for the postseason. Bobrovsky ends, of course, with 16 wins, 906 save percentage, 2.32 goals against average. While Stuart Skinner, people forget that he was maybe not at least going into round 3. I forget what it was going to sound like a final, but this guy was for a long time in the 800s of save percentage and in the 3+ of goals against average. So to bring it down to 901 and 2.45 goals against, it's not the craziest stat line to have, but to take into consideration where it was and where it ended up, crazy to think that he was able to get back to this point above 900 and allowing under 2.5 goals against per game. So he didn't have he had one less shutout, but his numbers still rivaled in some senses Sergei Bobrovsky. And if we look at those advanced analytics over here, feel free to peruse. I think the analytics would back that up as well. If we go from there into player statistics, may as well go straight into the numbers, as this is where you've been waiting so much to say. So we'll hold off on McDavid just for a second so we can get everyone else the respect they deserve, but we'll definitely get on McDavid in a moment. If we start by just looking at the losing team, so look at the team in the losing effort, being the Edmonton Oilers. McDavid, of course, his 42 points in 25 games, winning the Conn Smythe. Bouchard,
Choker.
Draisaitl, 31. Nugent-Hopkins, a quiet 22 points. Zach Hyman, a more loud 22 points with his 16 goals. Matthias Ekholm, a steady presence back there, playing almost 22 minutes per night. Evander Kane missed out on a lot of games, tough plus-minus. Warren Fogle and Connor Brown, I don't know if I just wasn't watching closely enough, but before the Stanley Cup final, I felt like they really were not doing much, especially when you look at Fogel's plus-minus. But Connor Brown, he had a couple.
Janmark was a defensive wizard out there, though.
For sure.
Janmark was a defensive wizard. He was like +6, and he scored the goal in Game 7. I mean, like, you can't ask for much more for that depth scoring. I mean, I don't know why.
And speaking of that depth scoring, look at Adam Henrique, 4 goals, 2 game winners.
I felt so bad for Henrique, though.
Yeah, you got to feel for Henrique.
I like Henrique. Everyone else on the Oilers, I could care less for.
Darnell Nurse, -9. Let it out.
Oh, well, everyone hates on Darnell Nurse, so it's like, it's basically, I don't really need to slander him when people give him so much hate. I mean, the hate's already there. Who I want to slander right now is this supposed GOAT that people want to bring up in the GOAT debate, and that's quote-unquote Jesus. And I wonder, did he really deserve the Conn Smythe? Like, let's ask ourselves this. He was
Here
great
we go.
all through the playoffs, and I'm not even joking with you on this. Bobrovsky or Barkov should have won it over McDavid. McDavid had a great playoffs, but in the finals, he was very inconsistent. He was terrible in 5 of the 7 games, offensively and defensively. He had 2 great games, and that made his stats look better than they actually were. Outside of that, he was nowhere to be found,
Would
and
you
that
need
should
what the
absolutely
MLB
be called
has?
out.
You need a Stanley Cup Final MVP. The Stanley Cup Final MVP would not have been Connor McDavid, but the Conn Smythe is the MVP of the entire postseason.
Yeah,
And
but
I
that
have a
also
hard
should have been
time not giving it to the
Bobrovsky.
guy who scored 42 points and is setting records.
Bobrovsky.
And I don't know,
McDavid had an easier path, Data. Come on. He had an easier path. He benefited from a lot of fluky things that helped the Oilers, but no one wants to bring that up.
Marlon, sixth in save
Panthers had a
percentage among
tougher
goalies,
road.
6th in save percentage, 4th in goals against
That's
average.
because of the one game where they let up 8 goals.
I don't know. And then Barkov, if you want to take Barkov into consideration, he had half as many points. If you're looking at the entire postseason,
good defense.
Yes, of course. But at what point does twice as many points override someone who's twice as good defensively?
Well, how many of those points were important? How many of those points came in the biggest moments? It's easy to put up points when you're either down by a ton or winning by a ton. Like, you don't really have any sort of pressure. That's my point. McDavid, in the last 2 games, was nowhere to be seen offensively. And for this guy who's getting called the greatest of all time by a lot of people,
maybe, but he was making a lot happen. He was coming in the zone. He was establishing.
Yeah, but that's just excuses because greats get it done, and McDavid did not get it done, and I'm calling him out for it because I'm sick and tired of his fans trying to justify his play. I'm sorry, okay. I think McDavid's overrated. I've said this before. If he didn't get the job done, he's the most overrated player. I said if he didn't win a conference final game, he won a conference final game. But he needed to get the job done this year. It's his 9th season. I'm tired of the excuses he's getting.
Yeah, for the amount of points he scored, you can't give the Conn Smythe to the guy who allowed all those points against him. Bobrovsky was not going to be in the conversation unless he continued his tear from games 1 and 2 of the series.
I'm just saying that I don't think McDavid should have won the Conn Smythe. That's all.
But Barkov ends at -1. I know it's not the be all end all, but Barkov ends at -1.
Yeah, but how much is that is like due to the fact that of that 8-1 game? You have to keep into mind some stats are a lot more flawed than others, and I'm just trying to keep the same energy. Like I'm not trying to hate on a player, but I'm going to keep the same energy. If you're saying McDavid is on the level of Gretzky and Lemieux and Orrin Howe, no, I'm saying a lot of people though think that, and I mean, you see this in the media. PK Subban said McDavid's like the Michael Jordan of hockey. I'm like, are you out of your mind, PK? Are you out of your mind? The guy is now 0-1 in the finals. Good job. Yeah, that's the greatest player of all time right there. Definitely. The guy
But look at Sidney Crosby losing his first final. McDavid's going to be back.
Yeah,
McDavid,
and Sakic won his first 2.
And McDavid's going to win more. Absolutely. McDavid is not retiring without a Stanley Cup.
Joe Thornton made 1 finals. He lost. McDavid literally turned into Joe Thornton in the playoffs in the most important games of the series. And yet this guy is getting a pass.
His team would not have had that opportunity had he not put them on his back for those games when they were down 3-0. What an effort, not just to score garbage time points. What an effort to be down 3-0. And as the captain of the team, yes, he didn't show up offensively towards the end of the series to finish the job, sure. But what an effort to put the team on his back single-handedly, bringing his team to a point in which they had a fighting chance. You silent in a Discord server, cowering under your sheets with the pillow held tight, and you were just shaking And
I
imagine
was.
if
I
McDavid just scored
was.
one goal in that game 7.
I was. But guess what? He crapped his pants and he turned into the worst player on the ice.
At the
Listen,
same time,
I'm
I
I'm
think he.
saying I'm just saying if you're saying he carried his team with game 7, you have to keep the same energy when he loses. Because he lost and him not playing as well as he should have was a massive reason. You can't ask the depth was there. Janmark scored the tying goal.
I
And
don't know if the
Janmark
depth was there. Janmark and Brown and Henrique are 3 of those like 9 guys you need in your depth when you have such a
Yeah, but
high powered force line.
where was everyone else? Where was like Bouchard? I mean, like all these guys are just like passengers. And McDavid,
Bobrovsky was also making miracles, sprawling around Kulikov, Forsling, saving goals on the line. It was also that to be taken into consideration. It's
yeah,
not
but
like they had
McDavid,
there was
if
the heart
McDavid
was there
isn't
for Edmonton.
scoring, if McDavid isn't
It
scoring,
can't
he
only
should
be
be
him.
playing defense. If he's not scoring, he should be playing defense. And honestly, he was below average at the faceoff dot, which I still don't know why people will always try to bring up. He's not good at faceoffs. I don't know why he's a center. But I will say the Oilers had a good run. I just think it's hilarious that you're having these recency bias nerds out here trying to say, "Oh, he broke Gretzky's record. He broke Gretzky's record." Yeah, it's easy to break records when you get the power play given to you every flipping second of a game. Great, good job. It's it's not like he played a Kings team that was getting worse each year and a Canucks team without the number 1 goalie and without Besser in Game 7 and with that BS suspension. It's not like he played a Pierre DeBoer team in the conference final that was gassed because they ran into 2 of the best teams in the West, aside from that one team that the Stars were. But of course, yeah, let's praise McDavid for coming up short, like it's LeBron James all over again of like hockey. Like it's like it's ridiculous. Like
You know what, Slim? I hear you, but the number's too big to ignore. If he had scored 33 points or something like that, I could understand it a lot more. The number is too big to ignore. 1.68 points per game. When was the last time we saw numbers like that? It's too hard to ignore that number. As much as I agree with some of what you're saying.
listen, people say it was cup or bust for the Oilers, and since they didn't win, it's a bust. I mean, I don't know what more you need to like if we go from the start of the season, right? Just hear me out. If we go from the start of the season, you had media members and analysts from NHL networks and stuff saying the Oilers are going to win the cup. People had the Oilers winning the cup. A good 85% had the Oilers winning the cup. However, I just didn't see it. I don't know why people thought the Oilers were going to win the cup. I think the Oilers will have a great team, but they did not have like they they benefited from a lot of fluky things happening, and that's going to happen in the playoffs. But it's just rich hearing from fans saying oh, the Oilers deserved it. They didn't deserve anything, honestly. Should have been over sooner, But I mean, Panthers got cocky, and the
Yeah,
Oilers
but
just took
the
advantage of it.
Panthers last year had such a good team, and one of the major reasons why they fell short was Kachuk being injured. Was it Verhage being injured? They had a good number of core players out or not at their best. And now we're going to be hearing soon. I don't know if it was reliable or not, but I'd heard that McDavid had an abdomen injury. Draisaitl was definitely playing injured as well. So how much did that come into play, and how much will that light the fire for them to come back next season?
Well,
Especially a year in which Draisaitl will be an expiring UFA next season.
Draisaitl was not good. I know he was injured, but if he's actually healthy, if he's really injured, he wouldn't have gone for that hit on Barkov that was controversial. I'm not saying it was, I'm not taking a side on it. Do I think it was dirty? Was it unnecessary? Yeah, it was unnecessary. But I also like old time hockey. But I mean, if you're saying Draisaitl's injured, then if he's so injured and he's able to make a play like that, I don't think he's really that badly injured. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I don't
But my
know.
point is that he was good enough to play. And, listen, like, I've always had trouble with, the injury and health and, like, and it hurt thing. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured. Someone like Thatcher Demko was injured. Like, Demko played hurt, then he got injured. Draisaitl was playing hurt. If he was injured, he would have not been playing. So he was hurting, and that obviously sucks,
I don't
for
know.
the Oilers.
These guys play with all kinds of injuries.
I don't know. I'm not going to criticize, like,
That's it. It's not the only reason. It's not the Edmonton lost because they had a couple of guys who were playing injured. You got to have, and Florida, I think, as much as I agree with you, the Janmark and the Henrique and all that, I think Florida's depth was just there more than Edmonton's was. As much as you have some of those clutch goals.
Their defense.
Their defense is the biggest reason.
I don't know. I don't know how. My biggest question is how the hell did the Oilers make it this far with that kind of defense? Like, is this just the new era of hockey where, like, you don't need to have, like, your best defenseman could be, like, 34 years old? Because that's the Oilers' best defenseman. Their best defenseman is Ekholm, and he's 34 years old, and he's not the same player he once was. And if that's your best defenseman, and if you make the finals, I think that just goes to show you how, like, offensively oriented the league's getting. Because there's no way, heck, the Oilers are getting this far.
Now, you know what, Slim? That might be the most agreement, the point on which we have the most agreement. As much as I probably appreciate offense more than you, and you probably appreciate defense more than me, I think it goes to show how Edmonton going so far with such bad defense shows how there's potentially too much of a reliance on offense. And obviously you score goals to win the game, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't be relying on offense, but you see a team that has offense and has defense, not just the Panthers, but so many of the past Stanley Cup winning teams. And you see how that at the end of the day can be an element to the fine margins that give you that Game 7 victory over another team. I'm not going to put the entire series on Brett Kulak, but just to say, like, he did not look good on that Reinhart goal, and that ended up being the Stanley Cup deciding goal. So little things like that add up.
You can just look at the Oilers' defense from just your first thought. You're like, Vincent Desharnais? Who the heck is this guy? He was in the AHL his entire career. Now he's in the NHL. He ain't even that good. But, I mean, like, he was great in the regular season. But, in the playoffs, it's a different animal.
And teams see that.
The Oilers' defense was exposed because we all know the Oilers are this run-gun team. Nothing's ever going to change with that. They are an offensively minded team. But their team defense, like, they're not just their defense from their defensemen, but their team defense as a whole was not that good in the finals. I don't know why. Like, go from game one, right? Game one, the first goal, Hyman was not back checking, and that really screwed up the Oilers. And McDavid wasn't back checking either to get to Barkov, But I don't know.
Sure.
It's like.
And
it's just the little things like that go unnoticed, but I always see it and I always call it out. I'm just like,
I hear you. And and teams see the Oilers and teams like the Oilers having a certain level of success with that ideology or with that team build or whatever you want to call it. And then it makes them think, okay, we can do that too. Let's Toronto Maple Leafs go out and spend whatever 40% of our budget on our top line or top 4 or 5 players. And we're seeing more and more, as incredible as those teams are, as jealous as I am as a Canadiens fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs, we're seeing more and more that this is not a sustainable model. And it's not to say that the Oilers are what made me think that. One goal goes a different way. The Oilers are Stanley Cup champions. Stanley Cup champions or not, I don't believe
the same thing. If Demko
that's it. It's not a sustainable model. Now,
if Demko was not hurt, who knows?
Maybe when you have McDavid and Draisaitl at their absolute best, it's sustainable. But not every team that has a couple of superstars has McDavid and Draisaitl. The average team with 2 superstars or 2 really good players are not McDavid and Draisaitl. Therefore, you cannot go that same route and say, I'm going to spend all my money on 2-3 big names and defense. We can fill in the blanks. But I digress a little bit there. if I just want to make sure that Florida gets their say as well, when we look at the points on the
I
Panthers.
just want to say congrats to the Panthers. I really want
For
to
sure.
I want to
Yeah.
congrats.
So many great
Congrats to
stories.
Paul Maurice.
And
Congrats
Paul Maurice, so
to
many players who didn't get there.
Luongo. Luongo got his ring, even if he wasn't the actual player. He was still like a part of the management.
Yeah.
I wish all of the legends of Panthers history were there, like Bergenheim and Fleischmann and Weiss.
Stephen Weiss.
And Van Beesbrook and Scott
Dmitry Kulikov was one of those guys. I'm glad that he was able
Kulikov's a
to be there.
legend. Jabo, all those guys. I've always had a lot of respect for the Panthers. It's nice to see them finally get the job done and get over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like everyone. It's funny because watching the finals, like you see, like it was kind of like obvious that the media was kind of like giving Edmonton more like of their, like giving Edmonton a lot more praise than the Panthers. But I was just like, you know what, give them the praise. It doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, like Panthers won. Who cares what the Oilers have,
And you know what I love about this Panthers team is that although they're not underdogs, and although they're not being like they're being disrespected by the Canadian media, but just in general, they are respected as a strong team. But really, a good number of these players are kind of like misfit guys who found a spot in Florida. Carter Verhaeghe, misfit excess, who found a home over here. Yeah. Sam Reinhart, not a misfit, but kind of couldn't find a spot in Buffalo. Evan Rodriguez couldn't find himself a contract at one point. Sam Bennett, former top 5 pick, who couldn't find a fit in Calgary. Gustav Forsling, waivers. Brandon Montour for scraps. Tarasenko thought of the Rangers couldn't do it with the Rangers. What's going to happen now? 1-year contract. He's finished. Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout, and who knows if his career is over.
Stolars, Okposo.
Kyle Okposo gets his Stanley Cup ring. So it's not that they were like a bunch of teams of a bunch of underdogs who came together and moneyballed it to a Stanley Cup. That's not what I'm saying. But it is a great cast of characters who have stories in which they've evolved to a higher level since coming to the Panthers organization. And are no longer the undercast.
This team reminded me of a little bit. It reminded me of kind of like the those like Miami Heat teams, like back in the day, where like they were always like not in the GM era, but in like the era of like in the 2000s when Pat Riley was like coaching again. How like those Heat teams are like built off of defense and they just played as a team. And I felt like this Panthers team kind of resembled that a little bit. They played like a lot they modeled like the Miami Heat culture of just like team defense and just grit and toughness, and they showed that. And I'm just really happy to see them win, And like the Marlins, the Panthers, the Heat, and the Dolphins now have rings, and I could not be any more happy for the fans, and the team has always had great teams. Even in 2012 when they lost, they were like one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah,
but
and you know what I love just looking at right here is the ice time share. Love the ice time share from everybody. When you can rely on Nico Mikkola to play those 18 and a half minutes, and you can rely on Luosterainen to play those 15 minutes, and you can rely on Erod to do what he does, 15 points in under 15 minutes, that goes a very long way. And yes, Edmonton had their Janmarks, their Connor Browns, their Adam Henriques, but for the most part, that same trust, that same ability to trust with the ice time.
I mean, heck, look at Lundell. Lundell was plus 8, 17 points, great two-way game.
Yeah, he was one of the most, if not the most underrated player on Florida was Anton Lundell.
Luosterainen, and
he looked good too.
All these other guys, I look at the team this Panthers team, sure you have your top guys, but they didn't really have this they're just a good team. They're built up. They have an identity, and I think my argument now. I think we all can agree now, and I think this has just settled it that the Huberdeau and Tkachuk trade easily was a win for Florida. And you know what, Data? I'm gonna brag right now because you said, "Oh well, Huberdeau put up 110 points." guess what? Now he's been exposed because the Panthers won without him. And Brunette's been exposed because
And
the
as
Panthers
much as
won
I can
without
agree with
him.
you today, I think anyone, including you, who had that point of view on day one was delusional. There was no way you could have predicted that. Anything that you said, and I credit to you, but it was a lucky guess. There's no way anyone could predict what was going to happen with Jonathan Huberdeau.
No, I just said Huberdeau was overrated. I wasn't saying he was going to fall off of a cliff. I just said he was overrated and that he stunk in the playoffs. Which
Fair enough. All right.
And that Uyghur was even worse. I mean,
Uyghur's been good. Uyghur's been okay.
No, I'm talking about in the playoffs.
Of course, the magical playoffs. The clock strikes 12 on the clock, and their skates get dull, and their hands get turned into bricks.
I'm just saying he costed them that one game with that stupid play in game 2, and against the Lightning in the second round, and the rest was kind of history at that point. I mean, the Panthers went from this running gun team to this defensive, gritty team,
Yeah,
and look, they won. Like. Yeah, no, that's the style of play it should be. It shouldn't be this run gun, style. It should be tough, grit, defensive first, and the Oilers. Listen, I respect some of the Oilers fans out there that are, being respectful and stuff. But a lot of these Oilers fans are just bandwagoners that are just so dumb. And they are so, and I'm talking about the McDavid fans, whether it's just, it doesn't even matter because, they lost. They can cry all they want, and honestly, they deserve absolutely no. The Oilers cried their way to the cup. Let's be real here. They cried. They flopped. They flopped. They ref baited. And people will say, "Oh, the Panthers flopped." Well, the Panthers also played defense, and it's rich hearing from other fans that that the Panthers flopped. But guess what? The Oilers did it more. They relied more on the power play. They cried to the officials. McDavid was always crying to the officials, and guess what? His team still lost. McDavid had a power play at 1-1 game in Game 7. Got a power play, gifted a power play, and guess what? He didn't do anything with it. That right there is the series momentum changer. Landon, cry me a river. Cry me a river, Landon.
Let the bottles out. So what's very interesting is that the Panthers win, scoring 0.4 goals less per game. Goals against was pretty similar, but although the penalty kill 88-94, 6% gap, but power play it's an 11% gap there, and 29.3 for the Oilers to 18.5 for the Panthers. The Oilers, you got to give them credit; they looked very good on their special teams. Maybe power play. Maybe you say the power play choked here. Sure, I agree, but the penalty kill looked very good.
I don't think the penalty kill had enough sample size, in my opinion. I don't really think.
Okay, that's a fair point to make. But when it was out there, I liked what I saw.
I mean, the penalty kill was fine, but it wasn't there wasn't really as big of a sample. I don't really think the penalty kill, if you put them in the league 10 years ago in the playoffs, I don't think the penalty kill is as good as other teams in the playoffs. Because back then, you penalty kills, power plays were not given out a lot. Power plays ever since McDavid joined the league, you're seeing a rise. You
saw that memo on the refs, eh?
And I'm not trying to.
We must now upgrade.
I'm not trying to
boost the number now. And then when Bedard came, they said just even more.
Theories,
then Bedard came. Now here it comes. Every time there's a first overall pick, let's add more.
Let's favor the offensive players. Let's make it unwatchable now.
I think they said if you score a Michigan on a power play, it's worth 2 now. I think that's what Gary said they're going to be discussing at the next GM meetings.
Oh God. And it's funny. I'm not even I'm old. I still have respect for the old school, and I think the old school players would kill it in this era. It's funny hearing from these delusional new school McDavid fans saying that Gretzky wouldn't do anything in this era. That's funny because back then they didn't have the sticks they have today. Gretzky had to use a wooden stick. The red line rule, the physicality. It was a lot more tough, Today, there's some physicality and some of the goalies are good. But, outside of that, the defense isn't really that great as people are trying to make it out to be. The power plays are given out more often. I'm just saying. That's just what I think.
And
But
that's
what
the
do I
landscape of the
know?
league, and that's always changing, always evolving over the years. We'll never get back, and maybe it's a bit over romanticized in my mind, but I love that era too, and we'll never get it back. Just the game is changing. That's it.
Yeah, I know. I just think recency bias, is a lot
Yeah,
more.
that'll play a role in any sport for
Like,
sure.
I mean, no, but with hockey, like it's like people are saying, "Oh, if McDavid wins Game 7, will he be on the Mount Rushmore for goals?" I'm like, well, I mean, you have Gretzky, you have Lemieux, you have Orr, and you have Howe. So I mean, how is that? How is he better than any of those four at their very best? No, no way. I'm sorry, no way. So it's like that. That's already like it doesn't make it. McDavid's a great player, but like, do I think the Oilers could come back and win the cup? I think it's possible. Anything's possible, but like Kevin Garnett said, anything is
Yes,
possible.
sir.
So but like, do I think though the Oilers? Like, let's be real here. I'm not trying to be a hater. I don't like the Oilers, but like, let's call it how it is. The Oilers had a relatively easy path to the finals, and they took advantage of it. Good for them. They took advantage of it. You know, I'll give them props. I will say though that I don't think that they'll get like this kind of a gift again with the format. They're gonna have to go through, the teams that Dallas went through, like Colorado and Vegas, and those teams have
Mhm.
historically owned the Oilers the past few years, And if Dallas's head coach was not Pierre DeBoer, I think we'd be
Of
looking at
course.
the Oilers differently.
That's it.
And
The
yes,
players, they had the horses. They were ready to go. But
no,
Pete
I
walked in
am
Game 7, and then just an
I am
aura was all around
absolutely
them.
blaming Pierre
The
DeBoer. Pierre
cloud just came
DeBoer,
over them. Their hands turned to bricks as soon as they looked. Medusa turns you into stone when you look into her eyes. Pete DeBoer turns your hands into stone when you look into his, right?
well, Pierre DeBoer gets outcoached. He doesn't adjust.
George Peter DeBoer is your legal guardian.
Why would my legal
He is your
guardian be a
father.
fourth playoff choker?
George Peter DeBoer is your father.
Dude, I've said this so many times. You will never win a cup with Pierre DeBoer as your head coach.
Why?
Because he doesn't adjust his play. He doesn't adjust anything.
What do
He
you?
doesn't
Did you see him on the board on the whiteboard? Are you in the room hearing him give the
Did you
assignment?
see him in the two finals he's been in?
What did you
With New
see? What did you see in
Jersey.
those finals, Slim? What did you see?
I saw a coach that refused to adjust to the other team's play style and rely on guys like Marty Brodeur and like Martin Jones to carry him, and they lost at the
And
end.
what was the problem this time in games with the Stars and the Oilers? What was the problem this time?
He didn't adjust anything. He didn't make any adjustments. He outcoached himself. He overthought things.
And on the flip side, the antithesis of Pete DeBoer is Paul Maurice. Then 5-0 in Game Sevens.
Well, it's not just that. He also won the cup. Something DeBoer has yet to do, and DeBoer has. It's not like DeBoer hasn't had bad rosters. He had really great rosters, and yet he's never gotten the job done. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, it's funny because now, here's what we know: the Dallas Stars obviously they either did adjust or they over-adjusted or they overdid things. That's just what Pierre DeBoer let teams do. But I'm sick and tired of like the people who are trying to like the Pierre DeBoer fans. I don't even know if Pierre DeBoer even has any fans. But like I I tried telling Stars fans this. I was just like, get ready to be disappointed when your team loses in the conference final or in the finals, because Pierre DeBoer teams always do that. And I mean, you look at Vegas the year they won the cup. The year before was Pierre DeBoer leading that team. Then they fire him. Bruce Cassidy comes in and they won the cup. Now I'm not an expert, but I think Pierre DeBoer might have been a massive problem with that team not winning.
I'm not even trying to be a Pete DeBoer fan. I'm just I don't
Well,
agree
I
with the
mean,
narrative.
I think he gets too many passes from the media. I don't like we slander like I've slandered guys like Boudreaux, and Boudreaux deserves criticism. Absolutely. If Boudreaux won a ring, he'd be an all-time great coach. But like he's an all-time great coach in the regular season, but he's not a good coach in the postseason. Now, I mean, are the teams to blame? Sure, you can blame the team at times, but it comes to a point where the sample size is large enough to take into account that, yeah, maybe the coach doesn't do the right thing at the right time and doesn't adjust for anything. So I don't really know, but
yes.
like,
Here's Rebel. Is this the Slim that always gets muted in the live stream? LOL. Yes, this is him. This is him, Rebel. I'm a Canucks fan that has seen McDavid play live. When he has the puck, he makes players on the team look like amateurs. He also turned Hyman into a scoring god. Yes. What do you have to say to that?
But my question is, where was this in Game 6 and Game 7? Where I
think we saw part of it. I think there were some times when he kind of split the defense, when he set something, when he was trying to establish.
But my point is that style of play does not translate to winning. That's why Torts has called him out on his style of play. His style of play does not translate to winning. It's like Luka Doncic in basketball. Like the style of play.
Scoring 1.68 points per game can translate to winning. You can't do it all on your own.
But my point is that if you're not scoring, you should be doing other things that translate to winning, and he doesn't do that.
He does.
He wasn't doing that in the finals. He was below average at the faceoff dot. Okay.
Yeah, faceoff below average. Defense was so, but as a player, he is getting better in those regards.
He is, but that we still can't. We still have to call it how it is.
Okay.
Like I'm not trying to I don't. Here's the thing. I liked McDavid before 2020, and when McDavid entered the playoffs,
as soon as people started saying that he's good, you had to hate him. As soon as he got recognition, but didn't have rings to back it up, hate. Connor Bedard, he's a pretty good prospect. Oh, he could be a game changer for whoever gets him in the NHL. The guy's still on Team Canada. He's already being hated by you. So as soon as the media picks up a player, as soon as anything positive is said about that player, and they don't have a ring to back it up, gone in Slim's bad books for eternity.
Well, I just think it's rich because everyone wants to keep the same energy. People criticize Ovi and Yzerman for the lack of playoff success. But when we criticize McDavid, now we're the bad guys, right? We can't criticize McDavid for just call it how it is. Just call it how it is.
We need to see at the end of his career. We got to see at the end of McDavid's career.
Well, right now I'm calling him out. I'm calling him right now a fraud.
I mean, he was on some horrible teams. This is the best.
I don't care. So was Ovi and Yzerman.
But yet they're getting better. They're getting better. They were an early round exit team. Then last year, the Western Conference Final. This year, Game 7 Stanley Cup Final. If they win the Stanley Cup next year, are you going to tell me that when he goes Western Conference Final, Stanley Cup champion, that's not a good natural process of progression? Is that what you're going to tell me? It takes time.
Yeah. I mean, you got to take time, absolutely. But,
I love it.
That's not my point. Listen.
You play to win the game.
Yeah, and guess what? Did McDavid win? No. He lost.
Slim, maybe any other thoughts on the postseason chokers that were? We spoke about Pete DeBoer. We're closing. What are we at now? We already got 42-50 going. So let's not make it another 42-50. I love just talking to you about these teams. We gotta do more podcasts like this. This is not the last one. Don't you worry about it. But when you're looking at this bracket right here, and you're looking at the teams that were, what comes to mind on the chokes? I think each team has its own choke story.
Well,
but what stands out to you?
First off, I want to call out. Obviously, Mitch Marner was awful in round one. He was awful, not just offensively, but for a great defensive forward. That game-winning goal in Game 7 was his fault, and I don't know why he even is getting everyone craps on him. I mean, this is well deserved. He was awful. He was awful. The Rangers, for example, Gen Z, Ray Bourque didn't win his cup in the 21st season, and I think he's overrated because of that. Because he never had any playoff success. And don't get me wrong, Ray Bourque's an all-time great defenseman, but he's not a top 3 defenseman like people are trying to make him out to be. he was a career playoff loser until he went to Colorado. That has to be factored in.
But I think you can also say it's not like he went to Colorado, won a cup, and retired. Went to Colorado, they had a good run. They ran it back the next season, and he was there for
they
a
got
full
destroyed
season.
by Dallas in Game 7.
But like he gave it it was a legit effort, not just come into the deadline,
Yeah,
play
but
20
like,
games and win the cup.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying he got, but he was not the same Ray Bork. That's the thing. He was not,
Sure.
But like Ray Bork, I'm saying prime Ray Bork with Boston was fantastic, and but like as a number one, you have to wonder if he played his entire career with Boston, would he have won a cup as the number one defenseman? Because that's the thing. When he went to Colorado, he was not the number one defenseman. That was like Rob Blake or Adam Foote. Ray Bork was like a number 4.
Your second pair guy.
He wasn't the same player, so you need to call it. Ray Bork's a legend, but you have to wonder the what ifs. Like it's the same thing with Yzerman. Would Yzerman have won if Scotty Bowman didn't come to save him? If he told Yzerman you need to change your style of play. That's important. You need to adapt over time. You're not going to win with your style with your run and gun style of play. Now,
who are you
I'm
calling
not
out on the
saying
Rangers,
that,
Slim? Who are you calling out on the Rangers? I want to hear this on the Rangers.
Oh, for the Rangers, yeah, the Rangers, they, we obviously all know Zibanejad and Panarin were awful, and Panarin was terrible. He was awful. Also, yeah, Landon, I gotta call out Pedersen too, but I mean, the Rangers here, we need to get the Rangers hate out because we all know I love making fun of the Rangers because I think they're an overrated team and they haven't been good since 2014. So let's get that out of the way. So for the Rangers, Panarin was bad. He was terrible. Zibanejad was bad.
We can put some big respect on Trocheck and Lafreniere, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Adam Fox was not good. I know he was injured, but you know what? He's made some stupid plays. I'm just going off the top of my head. I didn't really actually prepare for playoff chokers.
I got look at the screen that I have here right here if you want to see it.
Yeah. I know, but Panarin was bad. He was bad in the conference finals. He was he got points in the conference finals, but those points came in garbage time. So it's does it really mean anything? No, it doesn't. It shouldn't be taken into consideration. And basically, so we obviously have Pedersen as well. He was bad in the playoffs. But who the biggest failure in the playoffs were?
Wow, let's hear it.
It was the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, the ultimate losers.
The entire Winnipeg Jets team. I'd say even Washington put up a better fight than the Jets. The entire Jets team was awful. And the worst part is that they were
5 goals above expected.
The best defense in the league was the worst defense in the league when it mattered. That's a fraudulent defense. Yeah. Fraudulent.
Yeah, I'm on board for that. They were also the hottest team entering the playoffs. They were on an 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, but all that stuff means nothing because
I know, but just to say, but they were coming in fine form. They were not just.
But they blew a bunch of leads, and they were every game in the series. They were up by 1 goal, and only one of those games they won. They had opportunities to win other games, and they had leads in other games, leading by 1 goal, and they completely fell apart. Their entire team was awful. The defense especially was horrendous. Morrissey was awful. Pionk was awful. The entire defense was awful. Velarde was terrible. Scheifele didn't want to back check. He was -6 in the series. So much for that improved two-way game.
As Lynan says here, I knew the Jets were frauds from the start. I'm going to go even a step further. I knew the Jets were frauds last postseason when they played Vegas, and I was seen as crazy to say that Vegas was going to not just beat Winnipeg, but beat them handily. And they did so and went on to win the Stanley Cup. This year, I say Colorado's going to beat them handily again. People laugh at me again, and then boom, done. So, and in 5 games. So I'm not saying
what makes this worse, though. What makes this worse is that the entire Jets team was healthy.
That's the thing too. So what's your excuse now? Fraudulence. I don't mean to be ragging on the Jets, but I think even the biggest Jets fan can say that was an absolute train wreck, dumpster fire disaster.
No, they completely self-destructed.
That's it. And I wish them nothing but the best. As Paul Maurice said, I
There
go and
is
win the
no
Stanley Cup next year.
excuse.
But I don't know
They
what the
were the
excuse can
best
be.
defense in the league, and
Best
they played
defense,
the
you have the
worst.
Vezina Trophy winning goalie. You have a healthy team that is finally ready to make some noise
And
after
you're
getting some
playing an injured
experience.
Avalanche team without Landeskog, who's probably, like, we've heard the rumors saying that he's going to be back. He's going to be back. He hasn't been back. So you played an Avalanche team without their captain, and basically with Nichushkin being on and off, with the on-off ice stuff, the entire
Yep.
series, without Drouin, without O'Connor, and you still lose.
Yep.
Like, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
The only plus in the entire lineup, Brendan Dillon and Colin Miller playing one game. So if the only player who played more than one game and was a plus, Brendan Dillon, +1.
Everyone
Got
else
his
was
extension today.
terrible. 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 Mark Scheifele
And don't forget the
especially.
goaltender they were facing. Again, no offense intended, but Alex Georgiev, not exactly a brick wall.
Well, he turned into a brick wall when the Jets made fun of him. The Jets fans made fun of him, saying like you're you're back.
Yeah, where was this? Hold on, let me see the series again.
That was probably the most disappointing. Like, I picked the Jets to win
That
because I
7-6
thought
game
the
that
Jets.
Winnipeg won is where they should have said, okay, let's roll with this. Then after scoring 7 goals, they scored 2, 2, 1, 3.
Yeah, but they gave up like 5+ goals a game. That's inexcusable.
That doesn't make sense for Hellebuck.
And it's
Winning,
like, well,
he's gonna Vezina Trophy winning goaltender allows 5 goals above expected over 5 games,
I
including
can't even
allowing.
really. If
He
you
allow,
watch the games though, like some of those goals, like yeah, Helba could have stopped. But like I watched the game, like watching the games and stuff back, the Jets defense did not like even cover anyone in the slot. Like you saw Ross Colton getting to the front of the net, getting deflections. No one trying to body Nichushkin in the crease. The entire Avalanche team, like their bottom 6 guys, got to go to the net with free real estate, and the Jets defense would be like, "Oh yeah, enjoy the view. Let's just enjoy the view. Here's your free goal. Here's your 3 points and stuff. We're not gonna do anything." And
man, I
I'm just
forgot
like,
he allowed 5 goals or more in all 5 games. There was not one game where he looked 5.23 goals against average, 870 save percentage. Of all the goalies who played, like you have Lindgren, okay, 4 games, 864, but even then his goals against average wasn't as bad. And it makes no sense.
also
That's an
that
EA
Capitals team,
storyline.
that Capitals team was also kind of like banged up too a little
Yeah.
bit. They had no
Crazy. That's
TVR, no
EA, more
Jensen.
EA than EA. Imagine a 90 overall goalie who wins the Vezina. You go into the playoffs and you lose in 5 with your goalie turning into a pumpkin. It would
It
be
wasn't. Okay.
out of a
Let me
meltdown.
be real. No, Talbot was way worse. But like,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah, 2 less. He was worse over less amount of time.
but like, no. Here's the thing though. Hellebuck was bad, but like, if you look back on that series and look at the goals he have scored, all of them were in front of the net. And I'm just gonna say this right now. That's on the defense. The defense and the forwards not back checking. That is what lost them the game in the series. Hellebuck was not good, but the defense was way, way worse. The defense was the biggest issue in that series. They let the Avs players get like deflections in front of the net. No one was covering anyone in the slot. Like it was insane.
I hear you.
That's why you gotta call it how it is, and that's what I saw.
All right. Now, a couple more thoughts here. Gen Z asking, what are the thoughts on the Red Wings trade today? I think it's in
The Yzer
like
plan is fraudulent.
that's it. I don't want to go too much into that as that's not the purpose of what we're doing here. But I will say, there better be some correlating move that happens soon for Detroit that make sense, because that's crazy. It's just I don't know. They couldn't dump Hall or they couldn't dump Sherratt, so they had dumped someone who was good but still was money off the books. I don't know what to say about that.
You could have bought out Hall's contract.
I hear you. Now, Rebel asking, saying you need to talk about the Vegas cap scandal choke. So, scandal or not, I mean, that's a bit of a big word, as we know.
I mean,
that as much as
Vegas
you don't like
blew a
it,
2-0 lead. They blew a
that's it.
2-0 lead. There's no excuse.
That's it.
Yeah, they definitely. And to Pierre DeBoer, nonetheless. So yeah, they definitely.
They were coming in as the 14 seed wild card, but they were not being viewed
they
as the 14.
underachieved. They underachieved.
That's it, exactly. So you can't think, oh, okay, well, low results, low expectations. Now, a lot of people expected the number 1 seed Stars
Tomas
to
Hertl
lose.
was awful. Tomas Hertl at one point and was a -6.
Landon blew a 2-0 lead to Father DeBoer.
Great trade, Vegas. You traded for a guy that has never won anything, and he played like crap. Good luck. Good luck, Vegas. You're gonna need it.
I'm surprised that it went what happened went so, like, what am I trying to say? Like, it went so much as you would expect for a 14 seed, but they were not really a 14 seed. So they underachieved in the season in the sense that they were better than their record, and then they underachieved in the postseason in the sense that they had such higher expectations from everyone around them.
And they had a 2-0 lead.
And they had a 2-0 lead. That's the biggest thing.
And they had a great trade deadline.
People were ready to. I was in the car driving to the funeral home for the Dallas Stars. I had my eulogy ready.
I was getting ready to spam Doc Rivers gifts. I was going to be like, oh my God, here we go again. A Peter DeBoer-led team choking again in the playoffs.
But it does speak to the resilience of the Stars. I think the Stars do have a good squad. I love their balance of the veterans and the youth. I think they're a good team.
I thought the Hannafin pickup, though, was overrated. I thought the Hannafin did nothing. I don't know why people are acting like Hannafin's a great defenseman. He's really not that good.
He did score 5 points in 7 games.
He was a -2, and he can't play defense. He sucked.
Yeah, -220. Yeah, look at Tomas Hertl, -6 with 1 goal.
That's what I'm saying. Hertl was awful.
It's odd. Usually when you see these negatives, it's like somewhat spread out. But like no one's worse than a -3, and then you have this guy doubling that to a -6.
Hertl is a hero. He was a double agent he was a double agent. He went to Vegas to sabotage them to help the Sharks.
There you go. We'll see what happens
to help everyone in the West. Now that's a hero right there. That should be president of the United States right there. Tomas Hertl for president.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Hannafin, as much as the plus minus isn't great, I think 7 points, I think 5 points in 7 games and playing almost 24 minutes a night can give him a bit of a longer leash.
Vegas tells their defensemen to jump into the. Vegas is a team that lets their defense does a lot of scoring as well. So it's not that much of a surprise that he's scoring all these points when he can join the play every other time, you know.
Landon needs his bottle. He wants to see some Wyatt Johnston.
Yeah, so Wyatt Johnston was good.
Yeah.
You know, I also want to criticize the Boston Bruins teams and Matt Grzelcyk has got to be the most overrated, not the most overrated defenseman. Matt Grzelcyk's a terrible defenseman. Terrible. Ryan Suter was better than Joe Pavelski. Well, I mean, really, you can't. I'm sorry. If Luka Krajcic can make the finals and you guys don't, I have a serious issue with your team.
Yeah, the scoring wasn't there for Boston. Their goal this postseason was beat the Maple Leafs, and they did it.
Yeah, and Jake the Bus and Charlie McAvoy turned into just cones. I mean, Charlie, buddy, I really thought you would be better than that, man. But you just crapped yourself. You did it again. You did it last year, and you do it again this year. And Jake DeBrusk doesn't know what defense is. So I mean, let's just move on from that.
Yeah, but that's not his. He's a scoring winger. Let's be honest. Not to say scoring wingers can't.
On the third line, he's basically a third liner. How are you a -5 if you're on the third line consistent? Make it make sense.
What shocked me was the penalty minutes from Boston. I know they have the reputation of the big bad Bruins, but to see all these double-digit penalty minutes in over the course of 13 games, I find that's a lot.
The NBA is a joke now, and I agree. The NBA sucks now. I mean, the NHL kind of sucks a little bit too now because it's gone soft. But
do you think if Matthews hit 70 goals, they would ride that energy into beating the Bruins in the first round? I don't know. I don't think I would
No,
have changed. I don't think one more empty
no,
netter hit 70 would have changed
no.
much. As much
Who
as that would have
cares?
been,
Who
as
cares?
much
It's
as it would have
about
given them a little bit of a boost
winning.
on
It
their
is about winning.
You play to win the game.
I don't care about the stats. It's about the wins. Team success. So all these people saying that, oh, one player can't carry a team. Well, it's a team sport, right? You gotta say it's a team sport. When a team wins, that player on the team should get respect to a certain extent. Unless your name is Owen Byram, then I mean, no, you're bad. Or Darcy Kemper, Darcy Fraudster.
Nah, Darcy Fraudster, eh? Slim, any last 2024 NHL postseason thoughts?
I am the final boss, Oilers fans, and I hope that you guys got humbled, and I'm just saying this right now. McDavid's the most overrated athlete I've ever seen, and he gets so many passes. And I know that he had a good playoff run, but he didn't win. And as the best player on your team, you need to take accountability. And I'm just done with the excuses. I think that that's just what I think right now. And Dice, cry more, Dice. You Crosby fanboy. Sit down. I am the final boss. McDavid is lucky he's playing in this soft, no-touch era because I would have honestly loved, if I was playing in the league, I probably would go up to McDavid
Here we go.
and give him a face wash.
That's it. Put him on the 1982 Washington Cap. No, put him on the 1982 Calgary Flames, and he'd be lucky to hit 30 points, right?
We'd be in the hospital. Couldn't handle the physicality. I mean, the game is not physical. It's not as physical as it once was. Like,
yeah, that we can agree on. But it's not like McDavid is made of glass either, where one touch and he's on the ground crying. I think he does take a lot. He drew the most penalties. Actually, to look at one last number here, if we look at his penalty differential, he draws so many penalties. I don't know what numbers you want to look at here. There's a million we could look at, but if we look at penalty minute different, -14, drawing 14 more than he takes. Come on, you can do it, computer. Tying with Ryan's, no, sorry, that's the reverse. Ryan Suter and Jacob Trouba had the worst.
Oh yeah, Jacob Trouba was awful in the playoffs as well.
But Connor McDavid drawing 14. Robertson, Pettersson, that's the one thing he did well. He drew 10 penalty minutes, more than he took.
I gotta say to another Rangers player, Jacob Trouba was awful, and he should not be the captain. If anyone compares him to Scott Stevens or Darian Hatcher, you're a moron because those guys actually play defense. Trouba does not play defense. He tries to hit people just to hit people. He gets himself out of position. He's like a glorified, expensive version of Ben Sherratt. He's not good. He's terrible. He was awful.
Awful. Right, well, I'm glad you get this all off your chest, Slim. And
I want to get more off of my chest, but you know what? I love being here. I'm ready. All the McDavid fans out there, come join the Discord. I want to.
Slim wants to talk to the Discord server. Everybody, if you're not in the Discord server already, we're over like 660 members. We want to get you in there. We want to get you in there.
I want the tears.
Slim wants your tears. And if you're thirsty, Slim has a lot of tears for you. So thank you, Slim. Thanks for finding the time to do this tonight. It was a good little hour that we had. We'll do it again sometime in the future, absolutely. But that's it for the 2024 playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps up our content on the 2023-24 NHL season. Now get ready in what is it? 3 days? It's on Friday already. The NHL draft coming your way. So we'll have coverage of the NHL of the first round of the NHL draft. Then before you know it, there's free agency and much more to come. Breaking news, data casts as well as trades are going down. We were live a couple of days ago. We had the Allmark trade. There was the Darcy Kemper, Pierre Dubois trade before that. So subscribe if you haven't already for all those breaking news streams. Yeah, fraudulence for fraudulence. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and leave a comment down here. What are your thoughts on the postseason? What do you agree or disagree with between myself and Slim? He wants to read those comments. He wants to drink your tears, and you drink his in the comments down below. So let us know your thoughts. Thank you everyone for being here. We'll be live again tomorrow, likely in the afternoon. We'll see what fits best, but we'll be live again tomorrow with the Montreal Expos on Wednesday. And on Thursday, we'll have our San Francisco Starfleet squad on NHL 24. So a couple more live streams over the next couple days to keep an eye out for. Subscribe so that you don't miss those. Slim, give us your parting thoughts.
Had fun, and hopefully we can do more of this. Great season. Happy the Panthers won. My Panthers got the job done.
My Panthers, baby, yes sir.
No, my Panthers.
My Panthers, 2024 Stanley Cup champions.
You picked the Canucks. No, it doesn't count. You picked the Canucks.
And before we finish, give me your early thoughts. 2025 Stanley Cup favorites. Go.
I mean, I don't really know. There's like a lot happening.
Just quick.
I can't think. I guess the Panthers again. Maybe I don't. If they re-sign Reinhart, I think they have a shot. I mean, Reinhart literally is him. Reinhart is him.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Just just want to get your quick little your immediate.
When will Slim get muted? I think Slim will get muted whenever Slim wants to get muted.
There you go. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for indulging us here for the past hour or so. Hope that you enjoyed it. Slim, he's such a big part of our community here in the chats, in the Discord and all that. So glad that he was able to be able to get in here and defend himself as well. You know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, there are some things that I agree with him on the McDavid, Conn Smythe conversation and all that. I think there's a little bit of, I mean, you got me a little bit, Slim. But at the end of the day, we're just here for the tears. So thanks everybody for listening. We'll be live again in the next couple of days. And if you want to get Slim back for more content, let us know. Do you want him to stop by in the draft and the free agency live stream? Let us know. Slim would, I'm sure, love to be able to.
I always love being here. I always love to just give my wildest takes, because I'm not afraid to say it how I see it. And
you're not afraid of
my opinion,
right?
Listen, I can accept my failures and my flaws, but I at least keep it real and I keep it 100, okay? So, and that's all I gotta say. And I have a pleasure being here.
Pleasure, my friend. Thanks everybody for being here as well and taking the time to listen. Thanks for everybody in the chat who took the time to engage, and we'll be live again soon. And everybody, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon.